These old men, they played one. We're having podcasts just for fun. It's Get Geekish, and we're here for you.
Can I just say I'm really glad you didn't work knick-knack into that?
Yeah, that's... I thought about it. Hey, it's Get Geekish.
Yeah, welcome back to their podcast. Derek over there, I'm Bino, and thank you for joining us once again, as always, for another half hour or so of the ramblings in our heads.
Right?
And if you couldn't tell by that glorious, almost rhymey intro, we're going to talk a little about nursery rhymes this week. Because some of them are a little more nefarious than we probably wanted to believe as kids.
Well, and what's funny is, like, the reason this got brought up, and the reason I'm bringing it up to you is, if I can find it here. My son was watching, like, CoComelon and stuff like that, and then he found a different show. I don't think it was CoComelon, but it's something different, and they had a nursery rhyme on there called Little Kitty in the Well. Actually, this may have been one I don't even remember where it was, but it was Little Kitty in the Well, and I've never heard about it before, but basically it's like ding dong bell, kitty's in the well, and like this kid grabs a cat, throws him in the well, and then like people tell him don't do that type of stuff, and I'm like, that's a serial killer type of nursery rhyme.
I can't say I've ever heard Little Kitty in the Well, and I kind of don't want to.
I didn't either. I was just like, what the? So it's called Ding Dong Bell. That's what it is.
Oh, Ding Dong Bell. Gotcha.
It is from the earliest recorded reference to the rhyme is from John Lant, the organist of Winchester Cathedral in 1580. So, yeah. That's kind of crazy.
Same point. That seems like a fairly good lesson for kids, though, right? Like, don't throw little animals in the well.
Well, so like the most common version is this says Ding Dong Bell, kitty's in the well. Who put her in? Little Johnny Green. Who pulled her out? Little Tommy Stout. And it's just like there's different iterations of that, but I'm like, that's kind of a messed up little thing, like to be teaching to kid. I don't know. That's mine. I know there's so many, but that's what started it. So that's okay. The one that started it.
That's our jumping off point. Well, I've got one because I was also when you brought this up, I started looking up, and some of the nursery rhymes I had some ideas or things I had heard about what they were based on in the past. Some other ones I literally had some jaw-dropping moments, and another one, the internet has let me down again, which it does a lot lately.
Yeah,
the number of websites of people that have claimed to have the origin stories of different nursery rhymes, and they just made something up because it sounded nice. Like, there was one where I found an entire article that I won't post up there to throw anybody specific under the bus, but they had a whole article about rub-a-dub-dub, 3 men in a tub, blah, blah, blah. And a whole reference about how this was a reference to, anti-gay slanders of some time period and all this kind of stuff for it. And it took like 2 minutes of research to see that particular one was from the 14th century, and it used to be rub-a-dub-dub, 3 maids in a tub, not 3 men in a tub. And the whole original rhyme was a way to call people out for doing bad things, like, ogling naked ladies in a pub, because they reference this action of people that are normally respectable and doing things that aren't good. And, the 3 maids in a tub was a reference to something that was like the equivalent of a peep show back then. So it was a way to call people out and tisk people for doing things like that.
What's the best way to teach your toddler not to do a peep show? Well, let me tell you.
Yeah, and maybe that you throw a toddler in the tub and rub-a-dub-dub. Here's some naked people. Like, whoa, wait, hold on. Let's back that thought train up just a little bit.
And it's weird too because, like, these are quote unquote called nursery rhymes, right? So they're things that you would tell your baby or your toddler, but some of these sound like stuff that people would get together just to chastise other people, like little rhymes that just like, oh, that's a cute sounding thing. I'm going to tell my kid that.
It was what? TikTok for the 1500s,
Tick-a-tocketh.
I got another good one for you. Of a good old Jack and Jill.
Yep, they went up the hill to fetch a pail of water.
Yeah, do you know what that one's about?
I do not.
Okay, there's 2 theories I found on this one. First one dates back to the 1700s, and it states that Jack is actually King Louis the 16th, and that Jill is his queen, Marie Antoinette. The king was beheaded, hence Jack fell down and then broke his crown, and his queen was killed shortly after. Fun things to sing about. And then the other theory was that it was actually inspired by a hill in Kilmerton, Somerset. Now, if you're expecting a much happier version here, you're going to let down, because this one's even worse, I think. Supposedly, it was based on this hill, and a couple lived nearby this hill, and they were expecting a baby. And the dad went up the hill to fetch some water, fell down, had an accident, and died. And then the mom then passed away after giving birth to their expected child shortly thereafter. And there's actually like a plaque for Jack and Jill on this hill somewhere in Somerset. So,
jeez,
does that take some of the, you see all these little preschool kids singing this song, like, man, that is harsh.
Well, I remember the one, and I think this has been debunked. I don't remember. I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I remember the huge thing going through school was, Ring Around the Rosie. That was about the plague.
Mm-hmm. Now, which is true.
Oh, it wasn't debunked? I thought somebody was like, no, it's not. It's like they debunked it. It was about something else. But
I will agree that anything we say here, you don't have to take as facts, because even the stuff I've been reading I found multiple websites that contradict each other. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these things are written so long ago that nobody has there wasn't like a copyright agency happening in the 1400s. So it goes of people heard the story, wrote down the story. And it's, historians dig through and find the first places. So I'm not going to say with any sort of pertinence that what I say is exactly 100% correct. But the last stuff I researched about Ring Around the Rosie, that's exactly what it was about.
Right. Well, I'm looking at Three Blind Mice right now. The Three Blind Mice, the other one. Apparently, that's 17th century Britain. Protestants and Catholics didn't exactly get along. And the mice were three Protestant loyalists who were accused of plotting against the Queen Mary, called Bloody Mary, because of the massacres of the Protestants carried out in her name. Queen Mary, the farmer's wife, but she didn't cut off the tails of the three Protestant plotters. She burned them at the stake. So, again, this is stuff that somebody saw in real life, some twisted stuff, and they're like, you know what, let's twist this. And I get that they had to do that, to protect themselves and everything like that, so they could go, oh, no, this isn't about that, but it really is about that. But then people were like, you know what? I like this. Let's turn this into Three Blind Mice. That's cute. Let's turn this into a little nursery. Hey, Timmy, come here. Type of thing. I've always thought this one is creepy in itself. The Rockabye Baby one.
Uh-huh.
In the treetop when the wind blows, the cradle will rock. I always think of Goonies on this one, because when the mom's singing it to Sloth, the cradle will fall and he freaks out. Even as a kid, though, I always thought Rockabye Baby was a little bit creepy because of those things. So there's competing theories about the origins of this one. One holds a slight reference to the child of King James II and his queen, who was rumored to have been born to someone else and smuggled into the birthing room to ensure a Catholic heir. That one's kind of funny. So that's the one theory that I have about that one. It's just this goes back to years about I think a lot of them go back to the royalty things of ways to poke fun at them, or ways to get around satire, if you will. So this one's saying like, that's not his kid type of thing, or it's his kid with somebody else who's not of royalty. But okay, here's I see this right now. Ring Around the Rosie. This website says it's about the plague. So
yeah, but I also just fact checked myself, and I looked up on Snopes, and Snopes sure says that it was not based on that, because the different versions of it were all written really close to it. And they're like, the odds of 3 different poems being written within 5 years of each other, all referring to something that they hadn't even decided what was happening yet, is darn near impossible. But all the stories go along with it say that the posies are either something to ward off the disease, or masking the stench of death, or laying at a grave in a funeral pyre. And then the ashes were all about the sneezing sounds of plague victims, or the ashes of the dead. And it just happenstance that
I'll tell you what, it works. It very works.
How many dead bodies are you trying to cover the smell of?
No, I'm saying I'm not saying that works. I'm saying the nursery rhyme for the plague itself works. Then I could see why people were like, oh yeah, that's about that. I see. I thought I read something that said no, it's not about that. But I mean, there, like you said, there is tons of websites that are like, yes, it is. So again, with us, we're not fact checkers on this stuff. So
yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have to fact check some of the stuff I'm putting with the blog. That's gonna go with this as well, and some are gonna be wrong. But they're still kind of fun stories. So just take it with a grain of salt.
Well, it's like the game of telephone, right? You know, they started out as one thing, and then people twisted it and went, "Oh yeah, this is about King James," or "This is about Bloody Mary," or blah 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 stuff. You know, that kind of stuff. So,
an interesting one that the meetings debated is "Pop Goes the Weasel."
Let's hear it.
So the not so bad version is that it was about weavers who lived in East London, an area called the Spitalfields, and when they were weaving fabrics, they had a machine that was called a weasel, and it made a popping sound. So they do weaving, and pop goes the weasel. Now, the other theory that gets a little more downtrodden said the whole rhyme is written in the Cockney rhyming slang, which people use to disguise what they were saying, much as you said before,
right.
Poke fun of other people knowing you're poking fun. They said it's actually about people living on the edge of poverty and having to pawn their winter coats to survive.
Okay.
Because when the weasel is referred to a lot of the winter coats type of thing, and then popping something would be basically going to a pawn shop consignment type of thing. So somebody said the whole song was written as a way of saying, "Oh yeah, that's great, everybody have fun. I'm going to die if I don't sell my winter coat right now." Like,
I believe that we could probably do a 10 series run podcast on just Cockney in general, because the stuff that they have for other words and everything like that, you know, I went down a rabbit hole once where I started like trying to research some of that stuff. I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, they have words that doesn't even, you wouldn't even think that it has to do with what it has to do with. So, I mean, that one kind of makes sense.
I'm not sure just how much Cockney our listeners can deal with.
No, I'm just saying. Like,
I'm pretty sure I'm not sure how much Cockney I can deal with.
There is it's an interesting language or way of speaking, I guess. Yeah. I don't know.
How about it's raining, it's pouring?
The old man is snoring. Mm-hmm. Let's hear it.
This is a simple rhyme about head trauma. I mean, really, that's actually a relative one. That wasn't recorded until 1939. And my guess is it rhymed, and that's all it really was. But you read between the lines, and the whole thing is, somebody falls down, breaks his head, doesn't get up, or can't get up, or won't get up the next day. Yeah, that needs a hospital. That
one I feel like just started, some one day, like Grandpa was visiting or farm or something like that, and he fell down, and they were like, "Oh man, did you see it was raining? It was pouring outside."
What's wrong with the brain comes to come up with that? Like, oh, look, it's raining. Let's write a song. It's raining. It's pouring. Yeah, Grandpa fell down and hit his head.
Yeah. The old man's snoring.
Maybe Grandpa's snoring was so loud that they couldn't finish writing the song they wanted to, so they just did that.
Right. London Bridge goes all the way back to the Middle Ages. London Bridge is falling down. The bridge across the Thames needed lots of repairs over the centuries, but the most compelling theory about this song dates to the bloody Viking raid on the city in the year 1000. So that's way back when that they decided to do the London Bridge.
I question the use of descriptors in that, though. Like,
right.
Was there very many non-bloody Viking raids?
True. Fair. Here
we go around the mulberry bush. This one, I think is legit. That it originated from the female prisoners at Her Majesty's prison in Wakefield, where there was a sprig from a mulberry bush taken to Stanley Wakefield, and it grew into a fully mature mulberry tree, and the prisoners exercised outside in the moonlight around that tree. It sounds believable. The other side of it is that it references Britain's struggle to produce silk because of the mulberry trees. But I think women's prison's more fun.
That one's a little bit more like real. What about Humpty Dumpty? Let's take a look at that one real quick, because not once do they ever mention that he's an egg, yet every depiction we see is he's an egg, right? So that's weird. It's either about death or drunkenness. Both theories have their supporters. Humpty Dumpty was a popular 17th century drink made of brandy and ale, which might make you fall off a wall. So it was Humpty Dumpty. Do you think we could go into a bar and order a Humpty Dumpty? Do you think they would know what that is?
Probably a very few select bars that we probably don't want to be in.
Right. It may also refer to a massive armored weapon hauled to the top of a wall and used to rain down death on attacking troops during the English Civil War. So it's either about a drink or it's about a weapon.
I'm going to go with drink on that one.
Right? But I also I do find it weird that it's always depicted as an egg in, like, you know, animations or books or whatever like that. It's never mentioned in there that it's an egg.
You know, I'm going to do a little sidetrack real quick. Have you ever seen Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme?
I have not.
It was an amazing movie. It's probably terrible. From like the late 80s, mid 80s. I think we have a copy of it on VHS somewhere. I'll have to find it out. VHS. But it had Lucy Duvall. It had, I think, ZZ Top was in it. It was Paul Simon. A whole bunch of huge names in this thing. And it was all about a trip down living nursery rhymes. And it just made me think about it because no one else in the world had ever even heard of this movie. People thought it was crazy, except for my wife. We were talking about it one day, and she actually had seen it too. But I'm not sure any other two people on the planet actually remember the movie. But get a chance, Mother Goose Rock and Rhyme, fantastic.
Yeah, I'm sure it's probably on YouTube somewhere.
You know, you and you're thinking.
I mean, there's people out there like you who have that, like, oh man, do you remember this? And then they'll rip it right onto YouTube, or else somebody will already have it up there or something. So,
Yes, it was 1990 that one came out.
The 90s.
Let me get you some of the cast list for this movie because it's unreal for something that was the equivalent of like a B-movie kids show. Had Shelley Duvall was the main character, Little Peep. Little Richard was Old King Cole. Cyndi Lauper was Mary. Harry Anderson was Peter Piper. Gene Stapleton was Mother Goose. Dean Gilroy was Gordon Goose. Paul Simon was Simple Simon. Howie Mandel was Humpty Dumpty. Debbie Harry was the old woman in the shoe. Art Garfunkel was Georgie Porgy. Bobby Brown was one of the three blind mice. Ben Viren was the Itsy Bitsy Spider. Terry Garr was Jill. Woody Harrelson was Lou the Lamb. Cheech Marin was the Carnival Barker. Gary Shandling was Jack. Elaine Boosler was Mother Hubbard. Pia Zadora was Little Miss Muffet. John Sanuki, Katie Seagal, Brian Bosnell, David Leisure, Neil Gladwin, ZZ Top, Dweezil Zappa, Brian Setzer, Randy Jackson, and a few other people names. All those people were in that movie.
Jeez Louise.
See, you want to watch it now, don't you?
I kind of do, actually.
Yeah. So if you're looking for, it's not evil nursery rhymes, but it's a fun little trip down nursery rhyme road.
I was gonna say it depends how you interpret them, because I mean, some of the names that you just read were ones that we've talked about, and it's like,
Let's see what else we got here. We'll get through a few more of these before our time's up. Ladybird.
I don't think I know that one. That's about ladybugs, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And a couple different options. One says it's written about the Great Fire of London in 1666. Another one say it's just about killing a ladybug was bad luck. And then the third theory says it's about Catholics being burned at the stake if they're caught saying Mass in anti-Protestant England.
You know, 16th, 17th century... I think was a source of a lot of these stuff, and it had to deal with religion or royalty.
Mm-hmm. I just feel like that it's like, a song about a fire, a song about bad luck, or a song about burning people at the stake because they don't do what they're told. Oh.
What's funny is you look at a couple of these and they definitely have to deal with burning people at the stakes. And then you like Baba Black Sheep. It's was revised in modern times to make it a little less gloomy. It's about the government taking from the poor and giving to the rich. So, there you go. Wool was a major source of wealth in medieval England, 13th century. We went back a little bit further for this one. And the crown decided to tax it to pay for the Crusades. There we go, religion again. So one bag goes to the master, the king. Another bag goes to the church, which is the dame, and nothing is left for the shepherd who took care of the flock. So there you go. A lot of these are just like, wait, what?
So apparently they didn't like the Church of England, so they decided to sing songs, because apparently that didn't matter.
Church and royalty, which went hand in hand back in medieval times and 16th century and 17th century, all that. They're just like, yeah, we got to talk bad about them, but in code. You know what I'm saying? But I think it would be interesting to go back in time, like you said, because, I mean, a lot of these are rehashed from historians piecing together puzzle pieces, right?
And a lot of people are trying to give something meaning where there might not be. I could very easily see, like we were talking about earlier with Raining It's Pouring guy. He'd be like, I had a couple of glasses of Humpty Dumpty. I just rhymed something. That's it. Don't put any meaning in this. It's just some words that they fit.
Well, I mean, that could kind of go with any song that you hear nowadays. I mean, like, you listen to one song on the radio and you're like, oh, yeah, this is about this. And the artist comes out and goes, nah, this was just a pop hit that I wanted to put out. It has nothing behind it, but somebody interprets it some way. So maybe it's the same thing for nursery rhymes. I don't know.
You would be surprised how tough it is to rhyme something with end table. But I think we're also predisposed to think a lot of these things because nursery rhymes and kids' stories, a lot of them are so odd. Like if you were coming up with a story, most of the things, if it's not things you would normally think of, they're just crazy weird ideas. But you look at Hans and Gretel stories, or was it Hans Christian?
Hans,
yeah. All the children's stories,
brothers.
Grimm brothers. I'm thinking of Grimm's fairy tales. Those are all disgustingly dark, horrific stories, and they were used as warn kids or teach kids lessons. But now they're like, oh, look at this! Oh, the wolf's gonna eat your grandma. What a cute story!
Right.
It's just an odd thing. And I always thought that too when we had our baby or singing "Rockabye Baby." Like, why am I warning you that I'm going to drop you out of a tree? Like,
whoops!
Is this a threat? Like, stop crying or else? Like, rockabye baby.
Do you want the bow to break? Do you?
Because that bow will break. I'll make that bow break.
Do you want to be Humpty Dumpty? Do you want to sit on this wall? I don't know. There's a lot of them that, I mean, even growing up, I was sitting there, I was like, this is weird. And then when you become more of an adult, like, it's weird how these kept going, right? How they kept going through history. Obviously not all of them did, because I'm sure you could find some obscure nursery rhymes from the 17th century that didn't get...
Yeah, that are not pop culture type things.
Yeah. But it's weird how these evolved from 16th century, 17th century to still now, when it was back about the Queen burning Protestants at the stake, or people getting beheaded, or a weapon, this, and this, and how it just became pop culture. It became a thing. Shrek makes fun of it. It's one of the things. Now my gumdrop buttons, that whole thing.
And now it's on your Caillou nap time playlist.
Right?
Well, I think it's interesting too, because some of the little nursery rhyme stuff like that, I don't know if you've got any with your little one that came through, but there's a few things in our house that were kind of made up almost as a jest that became routines, like singing goodnight in certain little songs that are completely nonsensical. But to this day, in our entire household, everybody can chant it and sing along to it. Even though it was just like a made up, just like, please shut up and stop making noise. I'm just going to keep saying things. Okay. I'm just going to keep doing that over and over and over again. Yep. Okay. We got it.
And maybe that's why some of these nursery rhymes stood the test of time. I mean, it's really weird. Like, a lot of people want to go back in time to change things or to, make themselves richer. I want to go back in time to just experience how it was and see why things are the way they are. Like, this is one, I want to go back in time and have the person who came up with, like Mary, Mary, Quack and Cherry. That's one person. And back then they didn't have social media. They didn't have things. So they just started saying in the pubs, and it just kind of spread that way, or, just inner circles. And it like to see how it spreads.
They didn't write it to get famous. It was
right. They're not sitting there like, with their phones like, hey guys, what's up? Thanks for checking in. My buddy Ezekiel here. We got a new nursery rhyme for you.
Like, subscribe.
And I don't even think back then they were called nursery rhymes. They're probably just like limericks or rhymes, right?
Or songs.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably a lot of it was just singing things, and there was, I mean, you put yourself back at the times, a lot of people didn't even have musical instruments. Like, you wanted to play music, you sang, or you like beat on a stick on a box or something, or not a box, a stump or something like that. Like,
right.
There wasn't like you could just go down to ye old music store and pick up a guitar and a flute. It was
Oh man, they wake up in the middle of the night. Oh, I got this wicked nursery rhyme I need to write down. Give me my quill.
Fetch the inkwell. There's creating to be done.
But master, we couldn't afford the ink this week. Then give me your blood.
I'll work this into the story as well. Ungrateful swine. Why? Because God told me to.
Right? Oh man. See, that's what's interesting, is how they spread, how they became popular, and they're still around today. I mean, a lot of TikTok fads don't even last that long, so they get like a month and then they're done.
Yeah, if that. Like, I was trending on TikTok for 4 hours. Bravo.
Can you beat Humpty Dumpty, though?
No, you can't. But I think that's our takeaway from this thing is go check out the blog at getgeekish.com. I'm gonna post some of these on there so you can see what some of the other research we did on them. But what are some other dark ones you've heard of that we've missed? And do your own research. Like I said, all this stuff is a fascinating look at just to see how people have interpreted these things over the years. Mm-hmm. And before you go off and tell people you know exactly the reason behind a nursery rhyme, maybe do just a little bit of research to see if it's actually plausible.
Snopes is a great place for that.
Yeah, it is. You know, in the era of fake things on the internet, just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let us know worst nursery rhyme in your opinion at Get Geekish, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for listening. We truly appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Find us on social media at Get Geekish. And if you want more podcasts, we got plenty of them.